Hi and welcome back to Simone's Caribbean Online Learning. In this video, we are continuing our review of Paper 2, 2011 for Human and Social Biology. Last time we used data provided in Table 1 to plot a line graph, and we went over that in some detail. That is in Part 2 of this video series. In this video, we will continue with the same question where we now have to analyze that data based on our graph. So before we look at the question, we will look at the graph that we drew. And here we go. As we remember in Part 2, the line graph for country Y was already provided and we had to draw the graph for country X. As you can see already, there are some similarities and there are some differences. Both of them seem to have peaks in the beginning, but there seems to be a difference in this second part here, right? So now let's go back to our question. We are looking now at Part 2. Describe the trend. I'll underline trend. So trend is an important part here. Describe the trend in the population contracting the flu virus in country X and country Y. Now, what do we mean by trend? A trend can be described simply as increasing, decreasing, or fluctuating. One can also talk about any peaks, maximum points, and valleys, minimum points in the data. So with respect to this question, we have a population contracting the flu virus in two countries. So we'll be looking for if there's any increases, any decreases, any points at which there's no change. We'll also be looking for any peaks, any valleys. And if you remember from the graph we just looked at, there's definitely some peaks, right? So let's go to the answers. Country X. The number of persons affected by the flu fluctuates throughout the year with 2 peaks in February, 1,200 persons, and in September, 400 persons. Now note what I'm doing here. You're indicating that there's a fluctuation. Now what do we mean by fluctuate? It means that it's going up and down. It's not just going up or it's not just going down. It's up, then down, and up, then down again within the time that you're looking at. So there is a fluctuation from what you remember the graph. And I'm not just indicating that there's a fluctuation. I'm also giving actual coordinate points. So we indicate that there are 2 peaks. One peak in February, 1,200 persons, so you give the actual values, and September, 400 persons. 2 peaks. That there's a fluctuation and there were 2 peaks, you would not get the full mark because you did not give the actual coordinate for those 2 peaks, right? Now let's go on to the next part. It said the months with the lowest numbers, so we are over here now, right? The months with the lowest numbers occur after each peak to minimum of 50 in July, August, and November. Again, you're indicating where there are any valleys, any minimal points, and you quote the actual values. Okay? In this case, the value is 50 for July, August, and November. Now we're going to look at country Y. Country Y, there is a gradual increase in persons affected by the flu from December to a maximum of 1,600 persons in March. This is then followed by a consistent decrease to a minimum of 50 persons in August, which remains for the rest of the year. So in this case, there is no fluctuation. It's not up and down and up and down. Okay, there's a definite increase and then there's a definite decrease. Same rules apply. You indicate that there's a gradual increase. In this case, it's gradual, right? And then you indicate that there's a decrease and you give the actual values. What's the maximum? 1,600 persons in March. What's the minimum? 50 persons in August. Right? And then it just continues the rest of the year. So that's how you would word your answers. Right? So that's your answers. And as you can see, 3 marks. And you have 3 points. 2 points for country X and 1 point for country Y. Okay, so let's go on to part 3. Examine the graphs in figure 1 and 2. Describe the relationship between tourist arrivals and the spread of the flu virus in both countries. I put the 2 graphs, the one that was provided by the exam question. Let's go back to that. This graph here. And then I put the graph that we drew next to it so that we could compare the two. And we'll go and look at that now. And here we are. So if you remember, this is the graph from the question and this is the graph that we drew. So we'll be comparing these 2 graphs. Now as you notice, let's take a look at country X. Country X is the unbroken line in this graph and the unbroken line in this graph, the graph that we drew. As you notice, there's a peak here. Where's the peak? It's in January. And the peak here is in February. Interesting. Then we look for the other peak. The peak here is in August. And the peak here is in September, 1 month later. And the general shape of the graph are similar. And what you notice is that 1 month after the tourist arrival, so when the tourist arrival peaks, the spread of the flu peaks 1 month later, both in February and in September. Let's take a look at country Y. Country Y is the dashed line here and the dashed line over here. Again, you have a similar shape. There's an increase, then flattening out, increase, then flattening out. And the same thing is happening here as well. There's a peak here in February and a peak in March. So when there was a peak in tourist arrivals, there was a peak in the flu being spread 1 month later. So there does seem to be a relationship between the two. So let's go back to our question. Describe the relationship between tourist arrivals and the spread of the flu virus in both countries. And what we saw is that the trends of tourist arrivals and people being affected by the flu matched for both countries. So the increase, decrease, fluctuations, they matched. If there was a fluctuation in tourist arrivals, there was a fluctuation in the spread of the flu. If there was a gradual increase then decrease in tourist arrivals, there was also a gradual increase and decrease for people being affected by the flu. So therefore, the trends match for both countries. Peak tourist arrivals occur 1 month before the numbers of people affected by the flu reach maximum levels in both countries. Therefore, tourist arrivals seem to be a cause for the numbers of people affected by the flu. Note seem, right? There's this rule in scientific method that correlation does not necessarily mean causation. So we cannot say definitely, but we can say that there seems to be a relationship between the two. And that's the end of question 1. Now let's move on to question 2. A. Peggy has been eating 3 meals a day and still feels weak and tired. So it tells her that she could be lacking some vitamins and minerals. So let's look at that part of the question first. What do we say here? Right. So when they say that she's been eating 3 meals a day, this means that she is eating regularly. She's not starving, she's not fasting. However, note that the content of the meals was not described. This means they may not be balanced with some nutrients missing or in incorrect proportion. That's a typo on my part. And therefore, this is the main clue. This part here, she feels weak and tired. So that's the clue. Whatever follows from here has to do with that particular issue. Okay? So let's go on to the rest of the question. Part 1. List 2 vitamins other than vitamin 2 mineral that could be lacking in Peggy's diet. So whatever nutrient is lacking has to be a nutrient that can be connected to her symptoms of feeling weak and tired, meaning that feeling weak and tired is a sign of a deficiency in that nutrient. Okay? So you want to consider vitamins and minerals that are related to the body's access to and or use of energy. Okay? Right. So the mineral we came up with was iron. Why? Because it is needed to make hemoglobin, which transports oxygen throughout the body. Oxygen is needed for respiration. And of course, respiration is the means by which your body converts energy to a form that your cells can use. So if you're lacking in hemoglobin, your cells are going to start lacking in oxygen, which then leads to you having your cells having less access to energy in a form it can use. And therefore, she will now start to feel weak and tired. Okay? The vitamins, you have to name 3 vitamins. You have to name 2 vitamins. I provided 3 here. B1, B2, B3. B1 is also known as thiamine, B2, riboflavin, and B3, niacin. Niacin, I think. Yeah, niacin. And all of these vitamins help with respiration. Okay, you know, sometimes if you are feeling tired, etc., you know, the doctor might prescribe some vitamin B, some B vitamins, or they tell you to, you know, take some yeast extract and so on. Right? All of that has B vitamins in it. Okay, and so that's the adjustment. Include that in your answer because the question says to list. Okay, so you're not giving any long details, just mineral, iron, vitamins, any 2 of these. Right, so let's move on. Name a water-soluble vitamin. Again, all the B vitamins are water-soluble. Vitamin C, you know, you take your reduction, you dissolve it in water and it gets all nice and bubbly and you drink it, right? It's vitamin C, it is soluble in water. So if you can't remember reduction and it dissolves in water, right? All the B vitamins, pantothenic acid, that's one of the minor vitamins. You're not going to come across that as often. Vitamin B6, folic acid, and vitamin B12. So basically all the B's. Water 6, folic acid, and vitamin B12. So basically all the B's, right? So those are your water-soluble vitamins. Part 3. Name 1 nutrient other than a vitamin or mineral that could be lacking in Peggy's diet, which could cause her to feel weak and tired. Protein, carbohydrate. Protein because your body needs protein to make anything in your body, whether it be enzymes, your hair, skin, ligaments, etc. But with respect to this question, the most important protein would be enzymes, which are essential to maintaining your body's metabolism to keep all the various chemical reactions going in your body and functioning efficiently. So without those enzymes, your metabolism will slow down, which could then not providing energy as it should. It can't function as it should. Carbohydrates, well, of course, the main thing that carbs provide is energy. So if you're low in carbs, of course, you're going to be low in energy because that is the main source of energy for your body. The main carb that your body converts to energy via respiration or converts to energy that your cells can use via respiration is glucose, and that's a carbohydrate. Okay, and next is part 4. Identify the end product of the digestion of the nutrient named in A part 3 above. So if you name protein, the end product is amino acids. If you name carbohydrate, the end product would be monosaccharides such as glucose and fructose. Okay, and that's it for this part of question 2. Moving on. I'm showing part of the human alimentary tract, and that's also known as your digestive system. As you can see, it takes you from your esophagus right through to your anus, and you have various parts named. Okay, the diaphragm is not part of the digestive system, but it's placed there to give some context as to which parts of your body, at where you are in your body. Okay. 1. State one function of each of the parts labeled A and B in figure 3. Now, note, they're not saying the name of the parts, just state the function. Okay. So A, this guy over here, which we know to be the stomach. The function of A, no type of stomach in brackets, so you don't write down stomach, you write down the functions. So stomach, you write down the functions. So it breaks down food by churning, and it starts the chemical digestion of protein via the action of pepsin. So breaking food down by churning, that would be physical digestion, where you are breaking the food up into smaller parts physically. And then you have chemical digestion, where you bring various enzymes into the picture. You take those enzymes and they now break the food chemicals down chemically. So they actually change the chemical from, say, a large protein to the small amino acids. In this case, the enzyme that is present in your stomach is called pepsin, and this enzyme requires a very acidic environment to work, so that's why your stomach is very acidic. It's mainly to provide the ideal environment for this enzyme pepsin. And part of the alimentary tract called B, that is what you call your small intestine. This large part here that almost makes a square, that's your large intestine. And this very wrinkly, almost like a really big snake, is your small intestine. And this one, the function of it is to complete the chemical digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids to their final digestive products. So that's where all the carbohydrates that you ingested would have been converted to monosaccharides such as glucose. Your proteins would have been broken down to amino acids, and lipids would have been broken down to fatty acids, and there's fatty acids and glycerol. And the other function is absorption. This is where there's a transfer of those same final digestive products. It's transferred from your digestive system to the bloodstream. It literally forces the wall of the small intestine into blood vessels that are, that are present right within the intestinal walls. So via the process of diffusion, those final products just cross the wall cross the membrane, various cell membranes, into the bloodstream. That's right there. It's right in the wall of the intestine. This is where you'd find your villi and your microvilli, because that then increases the surface area and allows the absorption to occur as quickly as possible. So your small intestine is completion and absorption. So completion of digestion and absorption. Okay? And then last part, I think. There are 2 more parts here. Peggy's pharmacist suggests that she may need some amino acids in her diet, so she adopts a protein-rich diet. Describe the digestion of proteins in the stomach and the small intestine. Okay, so let's see comment here. So what we're saying is, if they're asking you to describe digestion, so you're looking at just the mechanical and chemical breakdown that takes place to the final digestive products. So you don't need to include absorption that occurs in the small intestine. But remember, that also occurs. But this question is just asking you to describe digestion. Okay, so be specific. So in the stomach, as we saw before, the stomach wall produces and releases pepsin. The enzyme breaks protein molecules down to peptides. So in the stomach, you go from protein to peptide. That's what pepsin does. And in the small intestine, the pancreas produces and releases trypsin into the first part of the small intestine called the duodenum. Okay, now note, I'm taking note of where the various enzymes are coming from. In the stomach, it's straightforward because the pepsin is produced by the stomach and released into the stomach by the stomach. So straightforward. But in the small intestine, there are different parts, and you'd have different organs, different glands that will produce the enzymes and send it into the small intestine to do its work. So in the first part of the small intestine, you have the duodenum, and into that first enzyme in the small intestine is trypsin. Okay, and that breaks down the protein molecules to peptides as well. So what's the big difference between the two? Trypsin functions in an alkaline environment, whereas pepsin functions in an acidic environment. So trypsin basically finishes things up. It basically catches whatever proteins were missed by pepsin in the stomach. And then there's the next part. The wall of the small intestine in the other parts of the small intestine produces and releases peptidases. And these enzymes break the peptides down to the final product, which is amino acid. Okay? So stomach wall, pepsin. Duodenum, trypsin. The rest of the small intestine, peptidase. Okay? Pepsin and trypsin, peptidase. Okay? Pepsin and trypsin breaks the proteins down to peptides, and peptidases break the peptides to amino acids, which is the final product. Okay? And now we're at our last part of the question. Suggest 2 benefits of amino acids to Peggy's body. And what comment do we have here? Amino acids. These are the final products of protein digestion, and this is the form that one's cells can work with. Therefore, the role of proteins in the human body can be described here, because it's essentially the building block for the proteins that your body will be using. Okay? First things first, it may surprise you, but yes, amino acids are also a source of energy, and then they are used to build up all the proteins in the body, including the enzymes that facilitate or help to keep one alive and functioning. And I would actually add as well, remember the beginning of the question, we're talking about Peggy being weak and tired. So this would also be a good point to talk about having all the chemical reactions functioning well, then allows Peggy to now start to feel better. Okay, it helps to remove the source of the weakness and the tiredness, or at least a source of the weakness and tiredness. And we have just completed question 1 and 2. Bye!